The other thing that I get quoted a lot by customers is, why don't we just put methane in methane pipelines? You know, why are you making my life difficult? Why are you putting a crippling impost on me as a customer? Why can't I lean into your grid for the greening? Because I can lean into the electricity grid for the greening. Why can't I lean into your grid? Where's your renewable gas? Where is your alternative product? Why don't you have confidence in it? Don't talk to me about the transition to net zero. Talk to me about how I'm going to survive as a business. Right? It's a really important point, and we've got a number of them on our books at the moment. The other thing is that you need to repurpose this asset. It's an amazing asset, right? You know, on the East Coast we have 150 petajoules of storage. That's equivalent to 20,000 gigawatt hours through a CCGT. That's about 60 times Snowy 2, and it's already there. You don't even have to do anything to use it other than fill it up with renewable gas. The current grid carries 90% of the energy that the NEM does. Yeah, the number I love to use, and people have probably heard this, if you want to decarbonise Victoria's gas, you've got to add the entire electricity load of Queensland to it. We really need to think about repurposing these assets. It's a wonderful asset for this country. It's taken years to build it, and if it's if the transition is to zero, I wouldn't like to be an infrastructure business in gas. It's not a place to be. But I'll show you some really good potential uses of it. The other thing that's gone out of the modelling for us a lot is the fact that we're getting more costs of production now around biomethane. This is great. I love these pilot plants. I really like to thank Gemino and particularly Frank for having the vision to get this stuff kicked off. We'll start to see more and more OEMs enter this market, which makes it easier to model, but more importantly, easier to build. They really are pioneers, and I thank them very much. I also want to stress, as you go through this, you realise that hydrogen could also play a very large role in producing biomethane. That might sound a bit odd, but we'll get there. Thank you also for the biogas roadmap. It was a remarkable piece of work. When I looked at those numbers, I nearly fell off my chair. I thought they'd be great, but I didn't think they'd be that good. I don't think people understand 2,150 petajoules means we could actually put biomethane right through all of the LNG plants in Queensland. This is a remarkable size. If we halve it, it's still a remarkable size. And the pricing in that report was also an eye-opener. Who wouldn't like to buy biomethane at the moment at $8.60? I could sell as much as you could produce. What's interesting is we've had a number of investors approach the firm, and one of them we are working on right at the moment is somewhere between 100 and 200 petajoules of biomethane in Australia. And I think that people don't think that resource is out there, but trust me, it is. You just really have to spend the time and energy doing it. The investors are different to what you think. Not one of these investors is currently in this room as a gas industry participant, not one of them. A lot of interest in finance companies. I thank Denmark very much. You've excited the finance market. I thank America very much. They've excited the market as well. And we are definitely getting people calling us to ask to do all of the scanning studies and also to think outside the box in terms of where you get the resource. And that report we use mercilessly, trust me, mercilessly. We also are the international REC issuer in Australia, Oakley Greenwood, and there's a lot of work being done by IREC to look at a gas REC. This is happening in Brazil, and the Brazilians are targeting 400 petajoules per year of biomethane, currently around 140 petajoules a year, and they issue gas RECs. And we are looking at doing that here in Australia, so there will be a gas REC available, so that if you actually can do this, because the big problem here at the moment is the best use of that gas, and in fact nearly all the gas we're looking at that's biomethane, we'd stick in a power station because we can get a renewable energy certificate. This is a dead weight loss in the economy. It should change. We need that gas scheme now. Credit scheme. The great thing about biogas is it produces what we call biogenic CO2. So the really byproduct of biogas is CO2. That's the emission that comes off. It's allowed to be emitted because it's already green. If you take that and you methanate it, this is technology that's been 100 years old, it's off the shelf, I can buy it from MAN tomorrow, and we've been doing a lot of work with them. You'll produce another 0.7 petajoule out of the same plant. So a 100 petajoule plant that's a biomethane plant can go to 170 petajoules as long as we had hydrogen. So hydrogen's a major enabler to do that. And it makes a lot of sense when you start thinking about a hub where you could have renewable electricity and water, and you get 80% of the water back during that methanation process, and you get exothermic, so you get a heat back as well. The balance is really interesting. This has moved into another area that I'm involved in, which is called the GET CO2 Research Centre. We just got 35 million from the Australian government to study this. We looked at just straight direct air capture, and a few of you have seen this. This is probably a little bit on the back burner at the moment because we've got so much excitement around the CO2 coming off the biomethane. But when we start to have a look at this, these numbers are actually better than we think. They're better than what's on this page, actually. And the reason being is the direct air capture can also be integrated, and with some of the newer technologies, it can also, this is the next phase to go into a synthetic methane with using direct air capture CO2 and hydrogen. Methanate your hydrogen, turn it into ammonia if you like, turn it into liquid ammonia, but I think ammonia is the main area at the moment, direct use of hydrogen, and this may be the next future as well, once we can establish it within the in the biomethane industry.